Today I just wanted to do a few more examples that talk about angle pairs and parallel lines, so finding missing angles. So let's look at the first example. Alright, so I have here two parallel lines, and let me make an arrow so I can point to things. So these red arrows here are telling me that these two black lines are parallel. And then they're cut by this green line, which, remember, we call that a transversal. So that creates 8 separate angles right here. So I want to know what the measure of this angle is if I know this angle is 68 degrees. Now there's a couple ways to approach this. This is what I think is the easiest way to approach it. We know that this angle here is congruent to this one. They're vertical angles. But we also know that this angle here is congruent to this one. They're alternate interior angles, and likewise that's vertical with this one. So those 4 angles are all 68 degrees. And by the same logic, let's use a different color, I'll use blue. We know that this angle is vertical to this one, so those are congruent, and that's alternate interior with this one, and then vertical with this one. So the other 4 are congruent. So they're all whatever x is equal to. So it turns out of these 8 angles, 4 of them are one value, 68 degrees, and then the other 4 are a different value. And how do I know what that other value is? Well, I know that these angles next to each other make a straight line. They're a linear pair, so they add up to 180 degrees. Or I could look at these two together, or these two together, etc. So if I want to figure out what x is, I know that x plus 68 should equal 180 degrees. So all I have to do is subtract 68 from 180 degrees, and now I know what x is equal to. X is equal to 112. Now, that's the long way of explaining it. Let's go through some more examples, and it'll be a lot faster. Okay, solve for x. Once again, let's mark an angle. So I'll start up here. It doesn't matter which one you start with. X, and then vertical, and then alternate interior, and then vertical. Those 4 are equal. Well, if you look, I've got, where's my arrow again? X has the same mark as this one, so these 2 angles, which we call corresponding angles, are going to be the same. So I don't even have to do any work. I already know x is equal to 53. It's as simple as that. Let's look at another example. Now we have an expression instead of just x. I have a 2x minus 10 for an angle, and I have 100 degrees for an angle. So I can start, let's just start marking them again. If I mark, let's say this one here, and then vertical with that, and then alternate interior, and then vertical. Those 4 angles are all congruent. Notice I didn't mark the 2x minus 10 angle, but I know the other 4 are all 100 degrees. So if I want, I could put 100 degrees here, and now I know that these 2 together make a straight line. So I know 2x minus 10 plus 100 equals 180. Combine like terms, 2x plus 90 equals 180. And now solve the equation. Subtract 90 from both sides, divide by 2. And I've got my answer. Now what some students would rather do is say, well, wait a minute. If this is 100, then I know this angle has to equal 80. And they'll just go ahead and start right with that. 2x minus 10 equals 80, and solve that. If I add 10 to both sides, and then divide by 2, I still get the same answer. So either way you want to think about it. All right, let's look at one more. Solve for x. Might be a good idea here to hit pause and try and solve it, and then see how you did. All right, so let's start by marking angles. This angle is congruent to this one, is congruent to this one, is congruent to this one. that means the other 4 are congruent. So I'll use a big mark here. That means this angle, and this angle, and this angle, and this angle are all equal. So now I'm ready to write my equation. The 4x plus 20 angle should equal the 6x minus 26 angle. So if you haven't figured it out by now, there's only one of 2 possibilities. Either the angles are equal or they add up to 180. Whenever you pick 2 angles with parallel lines cut by a transversal. Say that again. Either you're going to set them equal or they add to 180. One or the other. All right, let's solve this equation. I would subtract 4x from both sides. And then I would add 26 to both sides. And then I would divide by 2. And that's it. Okay, so the assignment is the parallel lines packet, pages 1 through 4.